have Bob Churcher, a freelance consultant specializing in political analysis and post-conflict issues with considerable experience in the Balkans. Following a successful career in the British Army, he went to work for the British Foreign Office and the European Community as an observer in the Bosnian War and stayed in the Balkans, most often in Albania and Kosovo, with various international organizations. This included serving as director for the International Crisis Group on Kosovo.
Mr. Chairman, firstly, may I thank you and the members for the honour of being invited to testify here. May I then say that I would like to submit my testimony for the record. I should start with an interjection to say that you've really very much taken the words out of my mouth. My views very much reflect yours. Despite the difficulties, I think that a better settlement would be self-determination in some way. I do appreciate the difficulties with it. Now let me summarise my views about this new EU brokered agreement. In contrast to many, certainly outside of this room, I do not believe that it is a good or workable agreement. International commentators have already made the agreement out to be wonderful, but as people say, the devil is in the detail. In reality, without any recognition of Kosovo by Serbia, it leaves Pristina in limbo. There will be a rump Kosovo, and the agreement will enable the creation of a new Republika Srpska in the north of Kosovo. Without recognition, there is no way forwards for Kosovo. Kosovo will remain dysfunctional in the absence of any real legal sovereign status, and Serbs will continue to want to claim it or claim it back. Unfortunately, to be frank, this agreement has been much more about making the new EU Foreign Service, and in particular its leader, Catherine Ashton, look good, rather than producing any long-term sustainable solution to the Balkans. In my view, this was any agreement at any cost, whatever it took to agree it. Without including the recognition of Kosovo by Serbia, the agreement simply ratifies what already exists, a Serb-run statelet in the north of Kosovo. All that will be changed is that it will now be a legal Serb-run statelet within the north of Kosovo. Serbia's failure to recognize the loss of Kosovo is a failure to recognize the defeat of the Serbian project to drive the Kosovars out of Kosovo in the 1990s. I regard it as admirable that the United States intervened decisively in the Bosnian-Kosovo wars, but find it puzzling and disappointing that the resulting peace agreements have been designed to appease Serbia rather than to create stability and lasting solutions in the Balkans. A much better solution than the present agreement might have been an agreement for territorial exchange, swapping the now Serb-populated north with the still Albanian-speaking Preševo and Buenovac valleys. In contrast to the State Department speaker's view, I can assure you that the local people in Preševo do not share the feeling that Serbia is looking after their human rights. Unfortunately, this idea is probably not yet practical in international terms, but there has to be a way forwards. The situation ratified by the new agreement will be disastrous in enabling the establishment of a second Republika Srpska. The only answer, in my view, is that the United States should use its international influence to press for Serbia to recognize Kosovo, and thus finally end the conflict and enable the Kosovo government to move forwards from what will be otherwise an endless uncertainty. Without recognition, I believe we're doomed to perpetuating instability in the Balkans, which is not in the United States' interests or that of anyone else. And let me conclude by pointing out that it is absolutely no use to rely on Europe, unfortunately, to sort this out. Europe remains completely disunited and dysfunctional in its dealings with Kosovo, as it was and is in Bosnia. As in 1999, only the United States has sufficient weight and influence to bring the Serbs to recognize reality that Kosovo is lost and that in order for both countries to move forwards, they need to recognize it. Thank you, sir.
Bob, just a couple of comments about how you felt the hearing went.
I thought in many ways the hearing went very well. It's obvious that Chairman Rohrbacher has got some very sensible ideas from my point of view. I think people should have the right of self-determination, and I think that should apply across the whole thing. And one should recognize that unfortunately northern Kosovo is lost. We're not going to get Albanian-speaking people to go back there. On the other hand, we should recognize that a large number of the population in South Serbia do not wish to live under Serb rule, and should be allowed to decide for themselves under which government they want to be.